Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? It's your main man, Big B, Brien Hanley, and welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate everybody being in here. Got a good show for you guys today, man. We are talking Coach Prime today. That's right. Coach Prime, Deion Sanders, Colorado Buffaloes, what they bring to the table, what he is bringing to the table, not only to Colorado, what he's brought to Boulder, the Big 12 Conference, why people dislike him. We're going to talk about all of that today and just break down Coach Prime in general and what he means to Colorado and the Big 12. So we'll get into all of that. Before we do, as always, people remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in that comment section like you guys always do, and always hit that notification bell so you know exactly when Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So without further ado, let's get into this. So first off, Deion Sanders, big extension this offseason. I think it's well-deserved. There's some people that are going to say, well, what's he won? And you would be right. But how many coaches have you seen get extensions that haven't won anything? And nobody ever asked, well, what's he won? Like, nobody says that. But my first thought would be, well, you brought him in. He's won a lot compared to what you were winning before he got there. Now, has he won a bowl game? No. Big 12 title? No. Has he beaten, ranked opponents? No. But what I would say is the football program in itself in totality is much better now than when he got there. You can't deny that. But let's get into the minutia of Coach Prime, what it is that what kind of makes him what he is as far as this program and what the whole cachet of him being at Colorado and in the Big 12. So first off, let's talk about what people don't like. There's a lot of people out there that can't stand Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, whatever you want to call him. There's a couple of different reasons. To me, one is people perceive his confidence as arrogance. They don't like it. And for this particular segment, we'll just say that it's arrogance. Okay? People don't like that. They like old school, act like you've been there before, show some humility. You don't have to show up your opponent, which I always say, he doesn't show up any other coaches or any other programs. He doesn't do that. Like, if they beat somebody, he's not bragging and driving in their face, talking about how bad somebody is. He doesn't do those things. But what he does do, he talks about his program. He talks about himself a lot. And people don't like that. They just, hey, go show me on the field, do this. And that's fine. But I think there's two ways of thinking when it comes to that. Now, you guys know me. I'm a big supporter of Coach Prime. And I love him, number one, being in the Big 12 Conference. And I also love him being at Colorado and what he's doing. And I like the way that he built the program. It was a necessity. A lot of people didn't like that. And we'll break that down a little bit here in a second. But I always tell the truth about him, whether good or bad. And people get at me on both sides if they think I'm not being hard enough or they think I'm being too hard, but that comes with the territory when you tell the truth. Some people don't like the truth. Some do. Depends on what you're talking about. It is what it is. But people don't like his arrogance. And I love his quote about it. Don't confuse my confidence as arrogance. I love it. Nobody's saying he's not being arrogant. Like I said, he doesn't rub it in other teams' faces or anything like that. If anything, Deion Sanders is a truth teller, and a lot of people don't like when coaches come out and just tell the truth. They say they like it, but when they actually do, then they don't like it. And Coach Prime at the beginning, he comes in, flips the roster upside down, basically gets rid of 90% of his roster, and he came out and told us those guys weren't good enough to play at Colorado. That's why they're not here anymore. Now, that wasn't every single player, so don't quote me, oh, Big B, you don't know what you're talking about. Some guys went other places and started. That's true. But the majority of those guys could not play at the time Power 5 level, now Power 4 level football. And they got rid of him. But what did you want him to do? I guess that's my question for all the people that didn't like the way that he did things. What did you want him to do? Just to come in, lose a bunch of games with kids that weren't good enough to play at Colorado? Because let's just be honest, the previous staff and the last couple of staffs, they weren't doing anything. They recruited a bunch of guys, and the team just wasn't good. They weren't any good. The program was horrible. It was horrible. So what did you want him to do? To just come in, oh, well, we're just going to work with these guys. I know they're not good enough to play here, but you know what? We're going to try to see if we can coach them up, and maybe we'll win 2 or 3 games. That's not what he did. That's not what the rules allow you to do. So he went in and said, we're going to bring in a whole bunch of new people to try to turn this thing around immediately. I mean, so what? Other programs do it. They just don't do it before they play a first game. They don't do it immediately. Also, I don't think other programs are dealing with the dire situation that Colorado was in. Colorado fans will tell you their program sucked. It was awful. So he did what he was allowed to do to try to change it quickly. Did it work out the first year in the Pac-12? No. But they were better than what they were the previous season. They were better. They had better players. They had challenges. Don't get me wrong. And they got boathoused in some games. They did. But you could see the trajectory. Another thing on why people don't like them, and this is going to ruffle some feathers, but it's the truth. People are jealous. They're jealous of Deion Sanders. Look, there's jealousy in everybody, myself included, when you look at certain aspects of life and things that we envy. And that rears its ugly head a lot of times when we're talking about somebody else that we don't like their success. We don't like how they're doing their success. There's a jealousy factor in there. And people are jealous of that. We saw it in coaches. Coaches out there that were talking about it. Hell, coaches that have better programs than Colorado. Why are you talking about Colorado? Talk about your program. You don't have to talk about another program. You saw it. Coach, he's getting all this press because of who he is. He's getting all this pub, and they hadn't done anything, and they're bad-mouthing him. I mean, jealousy is a real thing, people. It's a real thing. Whether you want to admit it or not, that's part of this. And that's why people don't like him, because he gets this press. He gets this pub, and all this exposure, and they haven't done anything. They haven't qualified. I mean, again, they haven't won a bowl game, haven't won a Big 12, really haven't beat the top teams in the Big 12, didn't do that in the 1 year in the Pac-12. So they haven't beaten anybody. But they did win 9 games last year, which is better than what they had done the previous years. The program is on the ascension. So, but that's what people don't like. A lot of people, it's just a bunch of flash. It's a bunch of talk. It's a bunch of media hype. That's the internet word these days. A bunch of media hype over nothing. And you could say that some of that is true. You're right. But did Deion say, ESPN, you have to put us on television? No. Hey, Fox, you got to put us on television. No. They choose to do that because it gets ratings. People watch. That's the one thing. You can't say that people aren't watching Colorado. That's the one thing that you cannot say, is that if they're on television, whether it's at noon or the last game of the night, you put them on, people are watching. Whether you want to see them get beat or you want to see them win. So, I mean, what do you expect him to say? Hey, I know this could help my program and get us a bunch of exposure to get us better players. Don't put us on TV, man. It's, of course they're going to. Networks are a business. Ratings equal money. But I mean, what do you think? They're just not going to put them on? Like I said, I get it that they haven't accomplished anything yet. Or let me rephrase that, because that's not true. They haven't accomplished what we think they should accomplish to garner the attention. Is that better? They haven't done the things that we believe you should do to garner the type of spotlight that he's gotten. But you know what? He's Deion Sanders. Some people get the spotlight over others without having to accomplish things, which is why I came back with the word jealousy, because people are jealous of that. You haven't accomplished anything. Why are you always on TV? Sorry, what do you want me to do? Should I have to be a different person? No, he's not, and he doesn't apologize for it. That's why I like him. But those are some of the reasons why. I mean, I'm sure there's a million other reasons why people don't like him. But to me, those are the two big things on why people don't like Deion Sanders. Now, what's he doing right? There's a lot. We'll go into a few. First of all, he's transformed that entire university. Enrollment is way up at all accounts, depending on where you look in different sites. I mean, everybody's got a different answer to this. But the one that I saw, it was up 161% enrollment since he became the head coach. That's insane, people. That is insane. Now, again, you could say, oh, Big B, I saw one where it was only up 40%. You could be right there, too. Whatever you want to say. But one thing that we do know, enrollment's up. Okay? He's transformed not just the football program, the university, but the entire city of Boulder is excited. The entire city of Boulder. What he has done in that amount of time is crazy to me to see him. And again, this is on the back of not winning a bowl game, not winning a Big 12 title, not even being in the Big 12 title game, of not really accomplishing that much on the football field to our standards or to most national standards, how he's transformed a team, a school, and a town. To me, that's incredible. Now, is it him alone? No, I'm not going to say that it's him alone. Nobody does anything by themselves. No, he didn't do it by himself. But he's a huge reason why. A huge reason why. Here's another thing that he does that people don't like to talk about. He holds his players accountable. That's something that he does right. He holds his players accountable on and off the field. Point being, last semester, 3.0 grade point average. Now, I know the first thing the haters are going to say, oh, they're not taking real classes. They don't even show up to class. Everything's online. You can say that about everybody at every university, every football, basketball player. They take most of their classes online. So I'm going to cut you off at the knees trying to downplay a team having a 3.0 grade point average. Because that's the first thing that everybody screams with NIL and transfer portal. What about their education? Well, here's this, 3.0 for the entire team. That's our average. Now you're going to badmouth that? I don't understand. What do you want? What are you asking him to do? You want him to care about education? Well, his team has a 3.0 grade point average. I'm guessing that's caring about the education a little bit. I don't know. Maybe not. If it isn't, please get in the comments and tell me that he doesn't care about their education. But he holds them accountable. He does. And the thing that how he holds them accountable, and this is another reason why people can't really stand him, because he's got a new age attitude, but he holds people accountable the old school way. Why you don't like that, I don't know, because I love it. Be in tune with what's going on today. Have your nose to the ground and understand how kids 18 to 22, 23, 24-year-olds think and act. But hold them accountable in an old school way. He does that, people. Show me on the practice field. You're going to show up on time. You're going to go to practice. Don't be late or there's consequences. And we've seen him run off really talented guys that he brought in that, hey, this guy won't do it the right way. And he's not going to play here if he's not going to do it the right way. We have seen him do that repeatedly over and over again. You do it right, you can play. You'll be around. You don't, you won't. It's that simple. Now, does that sound like a coach that you don't want to lead your program? That understands kids, holds them accountable on and off the field, and is helping not only your team, your school, the entire city that it's in. Boulder itself, $280 million in the community is what the estimated amount that he has brought in since he became the coach at the University of Colorado. I mean, just $280 million. That's the estimated impact that he has brought. You don't think the city of Boulder is happy he's there? You don't think the university is happy he's there? Again, he's doing a good job. Is it the type of results that we all wanted? But let me ask you this question. Another coach that took over a Power 4 team that was as downtrodden as Colorado was, if they went from winning one game the year before they got there, they go to 4, they go to 9, would you say they're doing a good job? Would you talk about, oh, well, you know, they can't win a bowl game? Would that be the first thing out of your mouth? Oh, man, he's super arrogant. Would that be the first thing out of your mouth? What you would be talking about is this guy should be coach of the year. This guy's doing an incredible job. They went from 1 win to 9 wins in 2 years. He's got that thing turned around. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think Deion should win any Coach of the Year awards. I thought he should be in the running, but I don't think he should have won it. But that's what people would be talking about. You know, kind of like they're talking about Kenny Dillingham, what he's doing at Arizona State. Now, I get it. He won the Big 12. I 100% understand. But their program was downtrodden too. And look at the height, what they have done. Sometimes we let the negativity get in the way of just enjoying what we're watching. You know, because me as a kid growing up, Colorado was one of the schools. Now, I'm not saying Colorado is a blue blood or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But in the late 80s, in the early 90s, Colorado was it. Colorado was it. It was right up there with the Nebraskas, you know, because at the time, Nebraska was one of those schools, the Florida States. I mean, Notre Dame. You mentioned Colorado with all of them. They were right there with them. Won a national title, competed every single year at the top of the Big 12. And then it fell off. And now they're back. So to me, and maybe people think this or not, I think college football is better when Colorado's good. That's just me, you know, my personal preference because, again, as a kid, I grew up with Colorado being really good. Now, there's other people, hell, if you could be 30 years old and Colorado hadn't been anything since you've been alive. So I get that, man. I totally get that. Totally get that, you know? And so it's you probably have a different perspective than what I have. But I love the fact that Colorado is good again. And I love the fact that Deion is part of it. Now, he's got to prove that he can win without his son there, or both of his sons. Got to prove that he can win without Travis Hunter. And that's part of it. Because the one thing that I said, that the negativity about Deion, was the second year when he didn't bring in that many high school recruits. And I said, yeah, that's not sustainable. You can't just live. The 1 year that you brought in all those guys in the transfer portal, I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you a pass because it seems like you had a bunch of guys that couldn't play at that level. So I get it. I'm with you on that. But then the next year, you got to bring in some high school kids, and develop them. You got to bring those guys in. And they didn't necessarily do it, maybe not to my liking. They did it a little bit, but now they are bringing them in. It was a 1-year thing where he had to clean it out, get better, and now it's okay. Here we go. Now, another thing that he has done, the staff that Deion Sanders has brought in. Look, you're lying if you could be the biggest Deion Sanders fan out there. You could be the biggest supporter in the entire world. You are 100% lying to yourself if you think that Deion Sanders is the best X's and O's guys out there. He is not that. He is a CEO of a program. And there's a lot of those guys out there. There's nothing wrong with being the CEO. Heck, we saw Mac Brown do it for years. He did it at Texas, did it in North Carolina twice. There's nothing wrong with being the CEO, and letting your assistants coach. Nothing wrong with that. We've seen it, and it happens all the time, other places. I don't begrudge him for that. What I would say is if guys aren't developing and guys aren't getting better, then it becomes a problem because now you don't have a good staff. Well, I think you just look at the Colorado players. They're better than what they were when the first year that he coached there. You saw them getting better from the first game of the season last year, go to game 8. You saw them get a lot better then. You saw it. They're getting better. They're bringing in guys, like I said, that, I don't know, that on the staff. And again, I could go the Marshall Falks, the Warren Sapps of the world. I don't want to get into the specifics, but the staff. He's bringing in guys that know football. That, number one, they know football, but here's a better thing. They can teach football. It's one thing for me to know football, but if I can't relay the message to people in a way that they can understand and then in turn take that and put it on the field, then what difference does it make? Well, he's got some guys that are able to do that. Got some guys that want to do that. And when you got guys that want to do that, guys that have been at the top of the profession, again, Marshall Falk, a lot of these kids, they may not know who he is, or they know him, but they never saw him. Same with Warren Sapp. But with the internet, you can Google, that's my coach? My coach was that good? My coach is in the Hall of Fame? Maybe I should listen to what he's saying. Maybe I should listen. He's got a passion and an enthusiasm to teach me this stuff. You know what? Maybe I should listen. Maybe I should just take a step back and just listen to what he has to say. Makes a lot of sense. Look, you don't have to like all the things that Deion Sanders is about. You don't have to like it. Hell, you don't have to like all the things about your mother, But when he's doing some things the right way, even if you don't like it, you have to acknowledge it. You have to. You can't say, well, he's won 9 games, but he didn't beat anybody. Okay, great. He has it, but he still won 9 games. Okay. 3 years ago, the program had won 1 game. Now they're at 9. That's an accomplishment. Whether you think that he beat anybody any good or not, okay. But he did win. And they don't have to win. The year before, they won 4 games. So they weren't winning. They weren't winning those games. This year they are. And it's okay to say. It's okay to say, you know what? They're getting better. They're getting better. Have they reached the mountaintop? No. But let me ask you this question. Did you think when he took the job 3 years ago, did you think 3 years later that Colorado would reach the mountaintop? Is that the expectation? 3 years, Deion Sanders has been there. If he doesn't win the national title, he should be fired. Is that what we're doing? Is that what we're saying? Well, he talks like they're the best team in America. Does he really, though? Does he talk like they're the best team in America? Has he ever said that they were the best team in America? He'll tell you he has a player that he thinks is the best team in America. But he's never said we're the best team. What he says is we want to dominate each opponent. That's what he says. Well, is that wrong? Is that not the objective? I mean, what team says, you know what, we just want to play lackadaisical, against this team, and hopefully we can come out with a win. We're not going to play physical. We don't want to dominate them. We're just going to go out there and play patty cake, and hopefully that's good enough. I mean, what football coach, what coach of any kind has ever said that? So just saying what they want to do, people don't like that. It baffles my mind why people get so bent out of shape. And it baffles my mind why people are all bent out of shape because networks want to put them on TV. Again, they have a business. People watch. Now, you may be mad that they're always on TV. They haven't earned it. Okay. But people are still watching. And what do you want to blame? You're blaming Deion Sanders for ESPN. Now, look, we can have our problems with ESPN all we want, but whoever has the contract with the Big 12, it could be Showtime, Max, whoever you want to say, TNT, yada, yada, yada. If they say, we're going to put this team on because they garner a lot of eyeballs, tell me how that's Deion Sanders' fault. I just need you to tell me. Like, how is it his fault that people want to watch his football team either win or lose? Why is that his fault? You're never going to be able to come up with a sufficient answer because the real answer is it's not his fault. He's garnered the attention to get his program the publicity that it gets. That's part of the reason that some people want to go there. Now, whether they're good or bad, okay. Well, you want to see them fail? Okay. I think that's always tacky that another human being wants to watch another or would wish and hope for another human being to actually fail. I always think that's tacky, but that's the world that we live in. But I'm just trying to figure out, and I take that back. I'm not trying to figure it out. I know the reasons why. Like I mentioned, people don't like arrogance. They don't like somebody being in their face, and the jealousy factor, which to me is rich. It's ridiculous. Gets old. Look, you don't have to like them, but just come up with legitimate reasons why. Saying that he hasn't won anything and he hasn't even coached his third season yet, that's not a legitimate reason on why you don't like somebody. Like, for instance, you can't even, like, oh, well, he hadn't won anything, so you don't like him? Mike Tomlin hasn't won a playoff game in the last 8 years, so you don't like him? Or do you not like his coaching style? That you don't like Deion's coaching style, then just say that. But then the next question, an intelligent person is going to ask you, well, what's his coaching style? And you'll never be able to answer that question. And if you do, it's a bunch of made up jargon that doesn't make any sense because you're trying to weasel out of the way. Look, you can dislike Deion. Hey, I don't like Colorado. I don't want to see him win, period. Be that person. But again, it's just baffling because he holds people accountable, which you would all want them to do. On and off the field, by the way. They go to class, and there's documented proof that guys are going to class. And if they don't, they're not there anymore. Like, he doesn't have a bunch of guys not going to class that he keeps around to get you out. You got to show up to meetings on time. You got to show up to practice on time. All those things you want him to do. He does that. Again, he's a young soul, but he does it in an old school way in keeping kids accountable. I love that approach. So, got things to work on. Still needs to have a better football team. They're not the best football team, but he's going in the right direction. That's all I'm trying to get across maybe today is that the hate that Prime gets, I don't think is warranted because people are wanting him to fail because they don't like how he does it. But if you really take a deep dive into how he's doing it, you would actually like it. You want your son to be a part of that. You would want your son to be held accountable by somebody that's doing it that way. Just my take on it. So appreciate everybody being in here, man. Thank you guys as always. Get in those comment sections. Let me know what you think. Talk to you guys soon, man. Love you guys.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.